though change can be and scary, the pain that I was feeling was greater. So I needed to just chase that discomfort and get myself out of that situation. You will be surprised what sitting and driving for 11 hours a day will do to your body. I'm eating at truck stops every single day, 7 days a week for a month at a time. Like, it's insane, right? I was a lot bigger than I am now. So my health was taking a toll for me as well. So it was almost like a life or death situation that I viewed it as. The willingness to want to change and want to be better. I think that people really truly need to look at their life and evaluate their life and say, okay, do I want to improve it?
Hi, Clifford. Welcome
Brother, I'm blessed and honored to be here with you. I'm excited.
to have you here as well. You have an incredible story where you went from a truck driver to a real estate leader, a leadership coach. What sparked this transition?
Being miserable. I think back when I was truck driving and I drove trucks for 7 years. That was a point in my life that I absolutely hated. I was a newly married man. Then I ended up having to go out over the road, traveling all over the place, being gone for weeks at a time. I just absolutely hated it. I also have two young daughters as well. And so being away from home and missing home, it wasn't the lifestyle for me. So shout out to all the truck drivers that love it. I take my hat off to them. I commend them. But for me, it wasn't fulfilling in any form or fashion. And I knew that I needed to make a personal change in my life.
That's so interesting because while there is truth in the fact that suffering teaches us lessons and makes us move, there's so many of us who are suffering.
Yeah.
We know what's good for us, but we don't do it. So, what was the difference in you that you took the action while maybe someone else didn't?
I think it's like the quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it here, but maybe you've heard it where it says, the discomfort of change has to be greater than the current situation or something like that. And so, though change can be and scary, the pain that I was feeling was greater. So I needed to just chase that discomfort and get myself out of that situation. Number one for me, because it goes beyond just missing the family. Like, my health started taking a toll. You will be surprised what sitting and driving for 11 hours a day will do to your body. Like, it will take a toll on you like you wouldn't believe. I'm eating at truck stops every single day, 7 days a week for a month at a time. Like, it's insane, right? I was a lot bigger than I am now. So my health was taking a toll for me as well. So it was almost like a life or death situation that I viewed it as.
When you are in that moment, sitting in the truck, body's hurting, you're feeling uncomfortable because you're overweight.
Yeah.
It is that moment in life.
Yeah.
And fast forward, you're a different person. You've lost 100 pounds, like the
Yeah.
weight of a whole person.
Yeah.
In the story, it happened over a snap, but it didn't happen in reality that way. What did it take to go from there to here?
I think it took, number one, the willingness to want to change and want to be better. I think that people really truly need to look at their life and evaluate their life and say, okay, do I want to improve it? Number one, right? And nothing's going to change unless we change it. I had to start creating new habits, new disciplines, and things of that nature to help me get to that goal. And it was just taking daily imperfect action every single day. That's it. Just show up every day. And you'll be surprised over a long period of time how those results just start to show up in your life. And you're like, wow, you look back and it's, my goodness, literally just this year alone, I've lost 45 pounds since Christmas. And I'm like, I can't believe it. It's just about a pound a week, nothing crazy, nothing insane, but me just showing up every single day. And over time, just this year alone, I'm 45 pounds down.
What does it mean when you say showing up every single day and doing what needs to be done? Can you give us some details?
Me specifically, and even you, I know you're pretty familiar with this because you've had a pretty incredible transformation in your own life. And just doing the workouts. And I'm keeping this in a fitness type of perspective. Doing the workouts every day, whatever that looks like, eating the meals that we know we need to eat. I bet you every one of the listeners on this call knows what's healthy and what's not healthy. If you go to the chicken shack and get a whole thing of fried chicken wings from Wingstop or a Burger King burger, deep down in your heart, that is not healthy and not what you should not be eating. So it's just showing up and eating what we need to be eating, if that makes sense.
You're so right, which brings us to my next question.
Uh-huh.
We all intrinsically know what we need to do. You and I were both overweight. We knew what we were doing, and we
Yeah.
also knew what we shouldn't be doing. If somebody's listening to this and they are stuck in a bad relationship, they know exactly what they need to do.
Yeah.
Somebody's listening to this and is stuck in a bad job, they know exactly what you need to do. But even though we know what we need to do, doesn't mean that we are able to do it consistently because there are temptations, there are distractions. What are some techniques that you use that you can share that allowed you to consistently lose that 1 pound a week?
Mhm.
Because there's Christmas, there's birthdays, there's Thanksgiving, there's sugar craving, there are a billion distractions in a year.
Yeah.
How would you stay on top of it?
For me, I had to find out what works for me. And I think that every listener on here is going to have to do that at some point. They're going to have to find a way where things work for them. But it's going to be about building habits in your favor. Number one, I work out with a trainer, point blank and simple. 5 days a week. That holds me accountable. I have somebody to account to say, hey, they're at the gym every day, 6 o'clock, waiting on me to show up. So I have that level of commitment there and accountability. I also have the financial investment. And I want to hold right here and just throw a note. So many people treat their health as a luxury, meaning, oh, Clifford, I can't afford a trainer right now. I don't think you can afford not to, right? Like, why are we treating our health as a luxury for us to put on the back burner to pay to buy some shoes or some jeans or whatever it may be? I don't know. And so I do think that we need to switch our perspective when it comes to our own personal health. I even have family members like we switch the type of food that we eat to a more cleaner, plant-based, grass-fed, grass-finished proteins, things of that nature. And I tell my family and they're like, oh no, we can't afford to eat that organic food. $8 for a carton of eggs. Like, can you? When you're spending $400 a month on prescriptions, right? Pay the doctor or pay the farmer. But I'm sorry, that little rant threw me off. But I had that. Having that level of commitment keeps me on track there. Reading things that help me build new habits and help me grow, and then just playing around with certain things. I don't know if that answers the question, but I think that's one of my main things that help me.
Yeah, definitely. What you're saying is commitment that's based on perspective, right?
Yeah.
That somebody saying that $8 a carton of eggs is too expensive is right in one sense because it is expensive because you could
Yeah.
just get a generic one for $2. But your perspective that you are additionally bringing to this is that you're also spending $400 on prescription medication and shortening the quality of your life. Oh, it's
Yeah.
the perspective that brings the commitment. What are some other daily habits that you have that kind of feed into this lifestyle?
The biggest daily habit I mentioned a minute ago is I read. I'm a big reader. I read 10 pages of a nonfiction self-help book a day, just 10 pages. And it's funny, I actually Googled this on ChatGPT. What would happen if you read 10 pages a day? Your self-confidence goes up, your awareness goes up. On average, you would probably read anywhere from 12 to 15 books a year just by simply reading 10 pages a day. I think that we have to unlock our mind. We have to open up our mind. Now, I'm a man of faith and I'm a biblical man. One of my favorite scriptures says, let us be transformed by the renewing of our mind, right? And so reading helps me transform my mind, my perspective, gives me a new way of looking at things and looking at my situation.
Obviously, acquisition of knowledge, understanding things better. Is there any other therapeutic effects that reading has on you, on your soul, on the way you carry your energy through the day?
I feel good. I think it's just a booster. Like I've never read and felt bad that I've read, right? I feel good. Wow, I read those pages. I get to reflect on them and think about them. It's like our workout. Have you ever went to the gym and said, man, I hate I came here, right? We typically don't regret the workouts that we did. Right? You normally regret not going to the gym more than you actually do. And
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. So I think it just boosts my confidence. It makes me feel better.
I have spoken to so many people, podcasting, interviewing people. Nobody has ever been able to say it as eloquently as you just did. I've never felt bad that I read. It's so true. I
Yeah.
never thought of that until you just said that. Nobody ever reads something, reads a book and says, man, I feel bad that I read it. I love it. I
Exactly.
love it. You're truck driving, you're unhappy, you're missing your family, your health is not well, you're realizing something is missing in your life. You realize you have to make a change. You start making a change in your body. You start taking control of eating habits and exercise habits, and that starts helping you lose weight. What is now happening in Clifford's life that he's slowly becoming a real estate investing icon truck driver? What are the career-based steps that you're taking to move forward in this story?
So it was funny, it that thing flipped the other way because when I was truck driving, I learned about real estate investing, and that's what actually got me out of the truck. And so, as I got out of the truck and was able to quit my job through real estate investing, I realized that, okay, I need to be in better shape when I'm building a team, running a team, not having brain fog and all that type of stuff. And so that actually helped me get in shape better. And so now it's just a point to where how can Clifford become the absolute best version of myself? I know this sounds cheesy and even cliche, but it really is about getting 1 single% better every day. That's it. Because now when I have team members that rely on me, I have my family that relies on me, my community. And we talk about perspective. My perspective has switched so much. And I would even challenge our listeners and say this: it is selfish of you to not show up the best version of yourself, right? Like you're married, you got kids, Mark, I know. Doesn't your wife deserve the absolute best version of you? Is she not deserving of that? Your kids, right? Don't want dad slouched over on the couch, can't come play catch, can't come play soccer with me. That's unfair to them. And my perception changed so much to where I said, Clifford, I am being selfish, absolutely selfish by not giving my wife the best version of me. We have a nonprofit and we cook for the homeless every single month. How dare me not show up to my community and serve them the best version of me? They deserve it.
Powerful. What made you decide to go into real estate in the first place? Because you could have done anything else.
A podcast. Believe it or not, I was in West Texas. And if you've never been out West Texas, there's nothing out there but red dirt and cotton fields. Like you're not missing anything. And so I was driving down a road and none of the radio stations were working. And for whatever reason, there was just one podcast that just played. And because I wasn't even into self-development like that at the time. But on that show, the gentleman was talking about what's called wholesaling real estate and how much money he was making doing that. And I was like glued. I'm driving down the highway and I'm just tuned in. I'm like, wow, that sounds easy. That sounds doable. I can do that. And I got hooked. Whenever I got home, I came home, I said, babe, I'm finna start wholesaling real estate. She looked at me like, what is wholesaling real estate? And that's just how it started. I went down this rabbit hole and didn't look back.
So much of our stories, when we are on podcasts, when we are on interviews, it involves our transformation. It involves the journey we had. It involves the suffering we went through. But almost always there's another person in that story who's been there for you, supporting you. Without that person, we wouldn't be where we are. That day you drove back, having listened to the podcast, and you told your wife, babe, this is what we're doing. She could have just said, Clifford, sit down.
Yeah,
We're not
agree.
doing that. And that would have been the end of the story. She could have put her foot down as her wife and said, that's it. You're not doing it. But she didn't do that. For a couple of years down the line, we're having this conversation. Tell us a little bit about the dynamics of that type of a relationship. What does it take to be able to sustain that level of support and belief in each other, even when the odds are stacked against you? 83 pounds is not something everybody can pull off. The fact that she believed in you says something about her. Tell us about
Sure.
that.
No, my wife is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'm beyond blessed to have her. She is so supportive. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. She believes in me. She believes in the leader that I am. And most importantly, I think it's her faith in God. And it's crazy because she's even said it like, I believe in God so much and the man that he put in my life, and I know that things will work out. And so seeing her have incredible faith in God, incredible faith in me, just makes me not want to fail. But she's always had my back. When, true story, and I'm not making this up, when we were in the thick of things, and things were going south, I told her, I'm so committed to this. I am willing to give it all up. This house, all of it. That's how bad I want to make this work. And she told me this. She said, number one, it's not going to come to that. And number two, saddle up and let's go. I said, let's go. So yeah, she has been an amazing part of this. And now we're full-time business partners. Like we work together, we run the company together. She's the integrator. She sets a lot of the stuff up. I come up with these crazy ideas and she goes and puts them into practice. So it's incredible.
The main principles that you apply in your teaching of students that you take on who want to learn about real estate, they're also founded in relationship building. And it's a derivative of what you're experiencing with your wife. Tell us about that. Tell us about what it takes to cultivate strong, supportive relationship in business. What is the teaching that you have for your students?
For me, I believe that God put me on this earth to be of service. That is what I am here for. And so every single encounter that I go into it to add value and to be of service. And so the best way that I try to nurture a relationship is by reaching out and saying, hey, Mark, how's everything going? Is there anything you need from me? Is there anything that I can do to be of service? Right? Building that and being authentic about it, not looking for something in return, just reaching out genuinely and seeing how I can help. And having that mindset or that outlook has just been extremely beneficial to me. I don't know who said this, if it was, Les Brown or somebody, one of those motivational speakers. He says, if you help enough people get what they want, they'll help you get what you want. I think that's just how it works. It's just the law of attraction. And so I provide so much service in the event that I do need something, not that's what I'm going for. People are willing to absolutely have a phone call with me or chat with me to help me through any sticking points that I'm having in my business. And so a lot of people, especially in real estate investing, they come into this industry and they're focusing on the transaction. Don't be transactional. You need to be relational. People only do business with people they like and trust, period. It does not matter. Every single person that you do business with, you like them and you trust them. That is the only reason.
You're running a business, you have a healthy relationship, you're teaching clients, you're teaching your students, you are involved in the community, helping those who are a little less fortunate than us. How are you not drained? How are you able to maintain this level of energy? For so many of us, it's a challenge to be able to juggle multiple priorities.
I think for me, it's a part of my purpose. I don't know, like it fuels me. I feed off of it. I believe that when we're working in our purpose, not that it can't be draining at times, it just keeps me going. I can lean into my why and why I'm doing this. And that way I'm not tied to a feeling, but rather the commitment of why I'm doing it. And so I think that's extremely important that we lean in and hold on to our why. I think would be the best thing. And then too, I like cigars. That's not really healthy, but I am a sucker for fine cigars. So you give me a Davidoff cigar, that is very relaxing.
When you are working with clients, right? You've
Uh-huh.
coached 4,000 people.
I have, yeah.
When you're working with them, when you're listening to the most common challenges they face, is it fact that they don't have a strong why, like you mentioned? Or is there something else that you see is a pattern?
I think it's just overcoming that self-doubt. Anytime that we're starting something new, we typically have like imposter syndrome, self-doubt, fear, things of that nature, I think hold people back more than anything. And that self-doubt can be an absolute dream killer. It can be a dream killer. And so I try to encourage my community and those that I work with to hold on to that why, to help them get through that. And it's okay to be scared. When I got started, I was absolutely terrified. I was terrified. I just did it anyways. That's just it, that's all it comes down to. You do it anyways, whether you're scared or not.
Self doubt, overcome your self doubt, be brave, take the step. These advice have become such cliche, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's talking about it, but nobody's really telling you how to do that. If I'm
Hmm.
listening to the podcast and I'm like, Clifford, I know I have a lot of doubts and I know my mom told me that I'm good enough. I just
Hmm.
don't feel it. I just don't feel it enough to be able to act on it. What is something you would say to be able to draw it out of them?
I know it's cliche and I know a lot of people talk about it, and it's almost even like mindset, right? It's come so diluted to where it's lost its transformative spark. But that's really where it's at. And you just have to figure out a way. And I can't do that for everybody, but they're gonna have to figure out a way to take that first tiny step. For me, when it came to my weight loss journey, it was simply walking. That was it. Literally taking steps, tiny steps. It wasn't going and lifting tons of weight. It wasn't a tremendous meal change. It was simply walking, building that habit. And then once I built that habit, then I went and started looking at my nutrition. And then I said, okay, once I built that habit, let me start actually working out and lifting weights and strength training. Right. So it was one habit over a time. When I jumped into real estate investing, I literally said, what's the worst thing that can happen? I can give real estate investing every single thing that I have and fail. The worst thing that can happen, I go back to driving a truck and living a miserable life, just being unhappy and settling. And that's what so many of us are doing. We are settling for a career that we know God has not called us to do. But what's the worst that can happen? You go back to working in that career. When so many of your listeners, they have books in them, they have ministries in them, they have companies in them, right? They're entrepreneurs. There's so many things that God is calling them to do, but you have to take the tiny step, whatever that is. If it's starting a business, maybe that first step is simply filing the business entity. That's step one. If you're a writer and you want to write your own book, write the title. Just write the title. Just wake up every day and say, I'm going to write one thing or one sentence, one paragraph. You're going to write the title. Day two, you're going to label the chapters. It's breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. And if you do that every day, you write one page for a year. At the end of the year, you have 365 pages. You have a book.
Yeah. So do you think that's been the main secret sauce behind your success? Being able to take small steps consistently and then stacking them on top of each other?
Exactly. I do. I do. I focus more on winning than I focus on structure. And I just want to win the day. I just want to take that one tiny step and I want to win the day. And they just build on each other. They just build on each other. And it helps alleviate that fear because now, let's use writing a book for an example. Writing a book can sound daunting, can sound stressful. Oh, what am I going to say? How am I going to fill this book? But if you say, I'm just going to write one paragraph a day, whatever's on my mind, I'm going to write one paragraph a day. That's a lot more attainable. That's a lot less scary.
Yeah. Really breaking the task down to small manageable bites that we can tackle easily. And then they have a stacking effect. I want to go back to what you just said though. You said
Mhm.
I focus more on winning the day than creating a perfect structure for the day.
Mhm.
Can you tell a little bit more about that? Give some examples, maybe how someone else is structuring the day, but they're losing the big game because they're not focused on winning and how you do it differently.
For me, I have a set task or a set task that I need to complete every day, whatever that may be for business, for personal, for my health. I have these set tasks that I need to do. What's crazy is life doesn't care that I have Clifford's set task. Life happens, right?
Mm.
You might get a call from the school nurse saying, hey, come pick up your daughter. Literally, your daughter ran into the tree. This literally happened to me. My
Mm.
daughter ran into a tree, and I'm like, how does my daughter run into a tree? Only my child. But anyway, and I have to go pick her up from the school. Okay. I didn't expect that. Now, my perfect schedule that I had laid out was just completely interrupted by school nurses, doctor's appointments. She actually broke her arm, all of that stuff. So now, if I can just focus on getting these tasks done, no matter what that looks like, I have to do an afternoon walk every day for 45 minutes. I normally do that about 1 o'clock, but I had an appointment on the other side of town. So I literally had to do our walk right before this call. I said, perfect. I have about an hour before I call, before I meet with Mark. I said, that's plenty of time for me to go get my walk in. You just get the win for the day, not the structure.
Are there days when neither of them seem achievable?
Yeah, I'm sure stuff is going to happen, stuff is going to come up.
How
But
do
you
you
just
not beat yourself up on days like that?
because we're looking at the long term. I heard a guy tell me this one time. He said, one salad won't make you skinny, just one burger doesn't make you fat. Isn't that hilarious? Think
That's
about that. One salad will not make us skinny, and one burger will not make us fat. So we're thinking about the long term here, the long game. If I go and I have one burger and I hadn't had a burger in 2 months, it's not going to kill me. I'm not finna go back to being 450 pounds because I had one burger in 2 months, right? It's what I'm doing consistently over the long period of time. And I think that's what people need to keep their eye focused on, the long game.
I love it. Knowledge bombs today. Every single thing. One burger won't make you fat, just one salad won't make you skinny. It's the consistency of either behaviors that takes us in the other direction. You are the cowboy
Yeah.
closer. You are known as the cowboy closer. You've built a reputation in real estate wholesaling. What is it that excites you most about what you do now?
Serving other people. And I'm just talking about not just in real estate investing. We get to help a lot of families that are facing foreclosure, that are going through divorce, that maybe they inherited a house where they lost a loved one. And so we get to serve these families and help them through some of the toughest seasons in their life. That's number one. And that gives me so much joy and fulfillment. Now, on the coaching and consulting side of things, seeing people get started in this industry doing the same is incredible and transforming their life. I had a member, and I can even share the text, where they made their first $100,000 month, right? And they had no experience in real estate investing. It is absolutely, that just lights me up because now their family will never be the same. Their marriage will never be the same because they're working together, number one. And then two, they're both doing this full time. Like they made in 1 month what they would have made in an entire year of working. That is going to transform it. You can't help but to change your life when you're doing that. And so I guess all of this just lights a fire under me to serve more, to bless more people, to impact more people and help more people. That's what it's about at this point.
I love it. So many things, so many accomplishments, so many wisdoms, right? Having lived this life and transformed yourself, not only just physically, but also from a business aspect of things. Despite all the successes, when you look back at your past, is there something key lesson that you've learned that you wish you knew back when you started?
Give yourself grace. I was at an event a couple of months ago where I was speaking, and there was another amazing guy that I love and respect. His name is Ed Milet. And so we got to speak backstage. And that was the number one thing that he told me that I took to heart was just give yourself some grace, right? We all maybe have certain levels of expectation. I want to make a certain amount of money. I want to look a certain type of way, or I want to live in a certain house. If you don't have those things yet, it's okay. Give yourself some grace. And if I may rewind a little bit, it hasn't always been peaches and cream. It's been tough. I don't want anybody to think that I just have some type of gift of gab. Y'all, I have put my boot in my mouth so many times, I can still taste the leather. I just continue to fail forward. I have mastered failing. That's all I did. I just mastered failing. There was times where deals fell apart and I had team members that were expecting that pay that I couldn't pay. I tried to scale my company too fast and that didn't work out and I had to start back over again. So there was some huge learning curves even with my weight, where I would lose weight, I would gain it, I would lose it, I was gaining it, and I went through this cycle. And so, what ended up happening and what I do now, my goal is to shorten those cycles. So, at first, they were huge, right? But now they might be a little smaller like this. And so, it's just managing those cycles of failure and success. So, they're not so volatile.
Clifford, the level of honesty and genuineness that you bring with yourself is paramount. It's no surprise why people like you, want to work with you, and people want to learn from you. In a world where everybody is peacocking and trying to show themselves as this imperfect being, you are out there telling the truth about how it really is. And that inspires and motivates countless more people than those who are trying to just lie and spread a certain version of reality about themselves. So It is an honor
Super.
and a pleasure to have you on the show. Any last words that you want to say to our audience?
I think number one, I appreciate those kind words. I thank you. That means the world to me, especially coming from you. I think just take that leap of faith, right? Whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, that they're trying to accomplish, it all steps starts by taking one simple leap of faith. That's it. And one step at a time. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. Don't look 10 miles down the road. Let's just start the car and get rolling.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Clifford. I hope we talk soon again.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Thank you.